Well, thank you for the introduction, Gary, and welcome also on my behalf to this Live and Study in Finland session. I will go ahead and first of all turn off my camera during the presentation, and I will also go ahead and share my screen now. So yes, as I said, welcome to this Live and Study in Finland session. I am very excited to see that some of you have tuned in to find out more about what it's like to study in Finland and the opportunities that we can offer you. I will give you a short introduction first of Finland, the education system, and general information about what it's like to study in Finland, and then we'll have a closer look at two universities of applied sciences in Finland. And if you have any questions, you can either interrupt me, or you can write down your questions or raise your hands. But we will also have a Q&A session, hopefully in the end, that I can take your questions and answer them then. But yeah, so let's get started. Finland, I don't know how much you know about Finland to start with, but Finland is of course located in Europe, in Northern Europe to be specific, between Russia on the east side, and then we have Sweden on the west side and Norway in north. And we are quite a small country in terms of population, at least. We are only 5.5 million people in Finland. And it's also one of the reasons why we wish to have, of course, more international students in Finland. Our capital is Helsinki, which is located in the south part of Finland, our country. And we actually have 3 official languages in Finland, which is Finnish, which is spoken by the majority, and then Swedish by a smaller minority, and Sami, which is our indigenous people that we have in Finland. We have some famous people who are from Finland, but the most famous person probably globally is, of course, Santa Claus, who comes from Finland. And if you come to Finland, I definitely recommend you guys to visit his Santa Claus village. It's quite a spectacular visit to do in winter. Finland is also known as the land of 1,000 lakes, and we actually have over 180,000 lakes in our country. So as you can see from these pictures, there's a lot of nature around in Finland that also international students can, of course, enjoy while they stay here. Finland is also very connected to the rest of the world, even if we are located in the north of Europe. But we actually have very good connections, especially to Asia, thanks to our national Finnair flight carrier that flies directly to many different cities in Asia, but also, of course, to continental Europe. And in a couple of hours, you can be in Paris or London or Barcelona or anywhere else that you wish to be. So it's also a great connecting point between the East world and the West world. And we're kind of on the border of that. Something about the educational institutions in Finland. So we actually have quite a lot of universities and universities of applied sciences in Finland. And we actually have this dual degree structure when it comes to universities or higher education institutions in Finland. So we have both traditional universities, and then we have these universities of applied sciences. And both are, of course, equally valued in our country and offer really good opportunities for international students as well. We have certain areas that Finnish universities are performing very well in if you compare it to other universities in the world. And for example, we have had Finnish universities featured in the top 100 rankings of whether you look at QS rankings or Times Higher Education rankings, you can find Finnish universities there. And also if you look at like faculty specific rankings, you can also find Finnish universities listed there as well. And some fields that we do very well in is, of course, computer science and generally engineering and technology fields, but also, of course, education. And education is, of course, something that many people actually come to Finland to study from abroad, because we have had we still have a very good education system in place. But also, of course, both physical science and life sciences are very big and we have really successful companies within these fields in Finland as well. So there are quite a lot of different fields to choose from, and a variety of options for international students to study in Finland. And we actually have over 450 degree and non-degree programs in English in Finland at the moment. So as I said, there's a lot of different options to choose from also for international students. So often when we talk to international students and universities and high schools and people who are not from Finland, they ask us, why should anyone consider studying in Finland at university level? And of course, there are plenty of good benefits to study in Finland, but maybe they're not as known as for some other countries. But first of all, of course, we have world-class education. As I mentioned, we have really high-performing universities and universities of applied sciences in Finland. Also, of course, our basic elementary and primary and secondary schools are very famous in the world. But actually, also our universities perform incredibly well if you compare it. And for example, the World Economic Forum have made various different rankings where they have studied the university performance and skills of graduates who come out of universities in Finland, and the Finnish universities and the university graduates are always in the top of these rankings. But of course, there's more to Finland than only studying. And when you're going to study abroad, there's plenty of factors to consider as well. And one of the great things about Finland is, of course, that it's very safe and peaceful. It's safe for foreigners. It's also safe for women. And it's also safe from any kind of natural disasters, really. So it's a really good and peaceful country to live in and experience when you're studying and focusing on your studies as well. We also have quite affordable tuition fees compared to many other popular study destinations. And this is partially related to the fact that all of the universities in Finland are public universities, which means, of course, that the government is funding these universities. Finland also have had very satisfied international students. For example, recently, the European Union, EU, did a international student satisfaction survey, and Finland came out among the top countries in this one as well. And some of the things that a lot of the international students highlight in Finland in terms of studies is, of course, first of all, the academic quality of teaching in Finland. So you really get education for the money, so to say. But also the facilities is really up to standard. I mean, they're one of the very modern and have the latest technologies in use in laboratories and so forth. And also the social aspect of studying is, of course, very important. And in Finland, universities have student unions who organize a lot of different activities for their students. And of course, that's a great way also for international students to get to know local students and to kind of integrate better into society as well. So that's, you don't need to feel like there's no risk of being left out in Finland when you're a university student, because there's plenty of activities to take part in. But of course, work opportunities and career opportunities is also one factor a lot of people consider when thinking about going to study abroad. And Finland, being an aging population, we do have a lot of work opportunities in various different fields in Finland, also for international students. Just to name a few, I know that, for example, IT, ICT, computer science, and these technological skills are very much in demand in Finland at the moment. But also equally, for example, nursing and social services is another field that offers a lot of opportunities for students who are interested in healthcare. But also, for example, entrepreneurship. Finland has a really good climate to start your own business in. And we've also have one of the world's biggest startup events, Slush, organized in Finland on a yearly basis. So there's there's something for everything in terms of work and career opportunities in Finland as well. And of course, last but not least, one of the great things about studying in Finland is, of course, the nature and the closeness to nature. Generally, Finland has 4 different seasons. So, of course, winter, spring, summer, and fall. And all of these different seasons offer, of course, great outdoor activities that you can do. And it's not that cold in Finland, as people generally like to believe. Of course, in the winter, if you are in the north, it will be much below -degrees. But equally in the summer, if you spend your time in Helsinki in the summer, it can easily be up to 30 degrees Celsius in the summer in the sun. So it offers quite a great variety of experiences in terms of living in Finland in general. And one of the most often questions I also get asked when talking about studying in Finland is people wonder, okay, do Finnish people actually speak English, and will I survive on English in Finland? And that's why I have included this English language proficiency ranking that was done by EF, Education First. And as you can see, Finland actually in 2020 ranked as the third or having the third best English language proficiency in the world of non-native countries. So yes, you will be fine speaking English in Finland, and you don't need to worry about the local population not understanding you, because literally everyone in Finland speaks English very well. And then I wanted also to include some fun facts about Finland. So we generally think, or Finland is generally a very well-performing country in terms of science and engineering technology. And we actually have quite a lot of nice innovations that have actually started their journey in Finland. So one of these, or some of these, are, for example, the heart rate monitor, one of the first ones to use these kind of wearable sports technology that can track your calorie intake and your heart rates. In sports technology, we're Polar. And so any type of fitness tracker that you use today most likely use the same technology that was invented in Finland. We have also done very well in terms of mobile games. So one of the most downloaded mobile games ever, Angry Bird, was actually invented or started in Finland. So it's also, Finland is a really popular destination for gaming companies, because we have a really nice ecosystem among gaming companies in Finland that kind of support each other. But also, for example, in like softwares like Linux, it's also a Finnish invention and open source software that is used by many today. And then, of course, for the little bit older audience, of course, knows probably Nokia, which once upon a time was the leading mobile phone provider in the world, and is still, of course, very well known today and still exists today. But they, of course, don't focus anymore on mobile phones, but have rather gone into other technology and things that they do today. But actually, the person who invented the SMS, so texting, that we do today as well, all of us, perhaps in different platforms, for example, on WhatsApp or WeChat, and so forth. But the first ever like SMS idea actually came from a person that was working at Nokia at the time. So that's also kind of a Finnish invention, actually, that you can send short messages from one phone to another. But of course, these are like older innovations, but I just wanted also to, of course, include some more modern innovations that have started in Finland. And I recently found an article about the Times magazine, who yearly do these kind of a list of the 100 best innovations for every year. And on this list in 2020, we had 2 Finnish companies. One was this Oura and one is Solar Foods. And Oura is a very popular ring that you wear, who will gather a lot of data from you. For example, you wear the ring all day, and then you can gather data on your activities, your sleep cycle, and everything. It's kind of this wearable sports technology, or belongs to that category as well. And actually, it's been hugely popular. And for example, the NBA teams in the US have, for example, used this Aura technology for their basketball players to kind of track their activity levels and whatnot last year. And one of them have also, of course, are invested in this company as well. But on the other hand, we also have Solar Foods, which is a up-and-coming sustainable food company that basically offers solutions for producing, or for climate change, and we need to start eating less meat. So they are very big and up-and-coming in this area as well. So there's a lot of good things happening in Finland, and we have a lot of innovations also coming from Finland, but often they are in areas that are not maybe so known to direct consumers, that they have, like, for example, if you use a heart rate or fitness tracker today, you might not think that it actually has technology that started in Finland. So as I said, Finland offers a lot of opportunities also to start your own companies, and has a lot of funding opportunities for great ideas and so forth. So that's also, of course, something worth keeping in mind. But anyway, let's go back to more about education. So generally, bachelor degrees in Finland last between 3 to 4.5 years, depending on university and the degree program that you're enrolled in. So this would mean that they are between 180 and 240 ECTS, which is the European credit system. Tuition fees are usually somewhere between 6,000 to 11,000 euros, again, depending on the university that you're studying at. And master degrees, on the other hand, they, of course, follow the European pattern as well. So they're usually between 1 to 2 years long, and therefore 60 to 120 ECTS credits. And the tuition fees for master degrees are usually, of course, a little bit higher, as it's an advanced degree, and they are usually somewhere between 10 to 12,000 euros. We usually have 2 intakes in Finland. The fall intake usually starts in August, September. And then we have a January intake, which is still smaller, and there's not as many options available in the January intake, but it's still there. So you can, of course, also start your studies in this kind of winter or springtime if you so wish. But definitely the September fall intake is still the biggest one available. So as I mentioned, there's a lot of benefits of studying in Finland, and I've already gone through some of these points highlighted here. But generally, I would say that some of the greatest things about studying in Finland is, of course, the average cost, both of living costs as well as tuition, is still lower than in many other destinations in the world. And you still get like the world's best education in Finland. We have universities that are, as I said, really highly ranked, that are much more accessible than many other universities in the world. As we are part of the European Union, we also have a fantastic exchange and double degree opportunities available for students. So you can go on or take part in this Erasmus exchange network and spend some of the half a semester abroad somewhere else in Europe to try out a different kind of culture and climate and city, for example. And one of the fantastic things also being an international student in Finland is this first mover advantage that we always like to highlight. And so what I mean with this is, of course, that while we have a lot of international students already in Finland, and the amount of international students are all the time increasing on a yearly basis, there's still a lot of opportunities for international students in Finland. And being kind of the first ones, or among the first ones who kind of go to a destination before the masses start to come in, is of course an advantage, because there will be more work opportunities and such for those international students who came first, so to say. So that's also, of course, something to consider while choosing your destinations. And also all the universities in Finland do offer scholarships for international students. So there's also, of course, those opportunities to take advantage of when choosing a destination. Of course, although the tuition fees in Finland and living conditions are lower compared to many other European destinations, as well as globally, one way, of course, to finance your studies is also to work as a student or work while you're studying. And as an international student in Finland, you can actually work part-time. And this working part-time means that you are allowed to work up to 25 hours per week during the academic semester, so when you have classes. And then during holiday periods, you can work full-time. And the holiday periods is usually in the summer, so between June and August. That's when students are off, and that's when Finnish people have their summer holidays. And then again in December, January, between 1 to 2 months, depending on the university and your own courses. But that's usually the winter break then that all the universities have as well. And of course, students usually work in different service jobs in Finland. So we have students who've worked in, for example, cafeterias, restaurants, like office cleaning jobs, delivery, like food delivery, and mail delivery as well. So these sort of entry level positions in service jobs, especially in the beginning of their studies. The more experience you get also in your own field from your studies, as well as from internships and so forth, the more opportunities you will, of course, also to have them to find jobs within your own field that you're studying. And it's very common, for example, that the third year, so the final year students in, for example, IT studies, they already have a job before they have even graduated. So it's depending on where in Finland you're located and what field you're studying, but usually there are already jobs, or students already have jobs before they have even graduated. And one thing to know about Finland is also that Finland has no minimum wage salary. And while this may be shocking for some, it's not really shocking for us in Finland. But actually, if you look at the Scandinavian and Nordic countries in generally, we generally and traditionally have not had this minimum wage salary because we believe that it's better not to put a minimum that somebody needs to have, because then companies will take advantage of that and pay the minimum. Rather, we believe that everybody should have a decent salary that they can live off on. And that's why even for entry-level service jobs, the hourly wages can be between 7 to 12 euros and even more, depending again what you are studying and or what you're working with and your own previous experiences and so far. But also what is good to, of course, always remember is that for any income, you also need to pay taxes then in Finland. But that's, of course, then a little bit more details once you actually have ended up in Finland and settled down and started your studies. So then how does actually applying to Finland happen? So, of course, first you need to choose your course, and that you can obviously should be doing mainly of your interests. And of course, many people also take in the career prospects and opportunities that this degree will offer you. And as I said, in Finland, there are a lot of job opportunities for international students in many different fields. So in this case, I think you should really follow your interests and what you would like to work with in the future. The second is, of course, to choose an institution or a university where you want to study. And here there's a lot of different factors, of course, going into this. For example, if you're very interested in reputation and ranking, that will obviously then give you a selected list of universities. But again, in Finland, we really don't pay too much attention to rankings. And I don't say this, out of the blue. I really mean it. Like, universities are happy if they come up high in a ranking, but they're much more concerned with actually the skills that they teach the student and pay attention to that much more than, having enough citations so that you would end up high on an international ranking. That's really important to also know and understand over these rankings, what actually goes into them. Cost is another important factor, of course. What is your budget? How much can you spend on tuition fees? Luckily, Finnish universities, as I said, they are quite affordable, and depending on the level of your degree, you'll end up paying between 6,000 to 12,000 euros. And then location, another factor. Do you want to be in Helsinki, our capital, or are you fine living somewhere like other cities in Finland as well? And then the most important usually is admission requirements, or one of the most important is that, of course, like what qualifications do you have and do they match with the university that you're interested in? And as I said, location is, of course, something to consider when you move to a different country. And that's why I wanted to show you these three different options that you have basically also in Finland. So even if we're a small country, we still, of course, have large, medium, and smaller cities. And Helsinki is, of course, the largest city in Finland. It's our capital, and there's a lot of different universities located in Helsinki. We roughly a little more than 500,000 people live in Helsinki area, and the climate is quite nice. It is usually below zero in the winters, and then it can go up to plus 25 degrees in the summer. So quite a pleasant climate. Then we have also medium size, for example, cities where you have universities. So Pori is one example of that. Pori has, for example, I think they have roughly 85,000 people living in this city. It's a bit north or further north, but it's still in the central part of Finland. And here, of course, the climate is a little bit colder already. So in the winters, the average is -4, and in the summer, it's usually the average is somewhere 20 plus Celsius degrees. So very nice for doing a lot of different sports and outdoor activities, for example. And then we have Kajaani, of course, which is, again, a little bit further north if you go, and it's a smaller city. And here, of course, being in the north central part of Finland, the temperatures are, of course, a little bit lower again. So the average is -10 in the winters, and then in the summer it's 16 to 20 degrees, depending on the day. So what I'm trying to show you is that there's a lot of different options also only in terms of location. So if you're interested in doing, for example, winter sports or sporting in general, a smaller student city can be good for that. But if you want to, on the other hand, be close to the main airport and take advantage of the city life, then Helsinki might be a better option for that instead. And of course, the living costs and also tuition fees will vary depending on if you choose to live in a smaller city or in our capital region. So that's, of course, also worth considering. I wanted also to show you when I say that the fees and general average costs for both tuition fees and living costs are lower than in many other European and non-European countries. We have done this cost comparison here to showcase this. So we have calculated that basically the average tuition fee for 1 year of studies is 9,000 euros in Finland. And the living costs are usually somewhere around 7,800. Of course, the living costs really depend on your own preferences. You can spend as much as money as you want, but you can also live on a quite tight budget in Finland if you wish. So it's really, living cost is always difficult to calculate because it depends on one's own preferences. But if we were to give you a guideline, it's somewhere, most students would probably spend around 7,800 euros at least. But even with that, you can see that even comparing to Netherlands and Ireland, two European countries, we still are more affordable than those two destinations, for example, and not, of course, to then mention Australia, US, and UK, where you will spend considerably more, both on tuition and living costs as well. So Finland is not an expensive destination as one might think, especially for students. And I will show you now why. So when the biggest cost per month is, of course, rent for students, like with any other country that you're going to. And here, again, the rent that you will spend really depends on your own preferences. Do you want to live in your own studio in the center of a city, or do you want to share an apartment with other students? That will, of course, really massively affect the budget and the rent that you will end up having. But there are, of course, different options. So you can choose the more affordable option if you're fine living and sharing, for example, a kitchen with some other students. But what is good to know is also that the students, all the universities in Finland, they offer subsidized lunches for their students. So universities in Finland will usually have a university canteen where students can eat a much more affordable warm meal than you would if you went to a random restaurant during lunchtime. So actually for roughly €3, you get a 3-course meal at the university in Finland. So it's really actually a nice benefit that, for example, even in Sweden, you don't have this nicely state-funded lunch at the universities. But of course, then we have like more traditional student discounts like transportation. You get a lot of different student discounts, both on flights, on trains, on buses, on public transportation in general, that you can enjoy as a student in Finland. But also, for example, some universities have their own gyms, so you don't need to even pay for a gym membership because it's part of the kind of student union fee that you'll pay instead per year, and so forth. So it's not as expensive as many people think when thinking of a Nordic country or Finland in general. And I'm happy to also answer more questions about living costs in Finland if you have such. I wanted to briefly also discuss and tell you about the after graduation opportunities in Finland. So once you have graduated from a Finnish university, you can stay back in Finland for 1 year when you look for work or if you want to establish your own company. And Finland has, as I said already, a high demand for skilled professionals. So there's a lot of skill shortages in many different areas. For example, IT, different data-related sciences or software engineering, ICT, and so forth. But I also already mentioned healthcare, nursing, social services also offer really good opportunities. And of course, Finnish healthcare is one of the best ones in the world. So if you have a nursing degree from Finland, for example, you'll easily be able to go anywhere else in Europe with that degree, or even perhaps to your home countries, depending on those I don't know what you call them, but those when governments need to accredit certain degrees so that you can practice in your home countries as well. But usually all the countries in the world regard Finnish healthcare really highly. So you won't have any issues with that. But also very up-and-coming fields in Finland is, for example, AI and robotics, which already has a skill shortage. So if you're interested in studying artificial intelligence or robotics or automation in general, Finland is a really good destination for this because we have everything from large industrial operations that are becoming more and more automated, that offers really good opportunities to understand how, for example, industrial internet works and how to automate industrial operations with the help of artificial intelligence or not, depending on, of course, the field. But the AI, robotics, and automation engineering in general offers like very, very good opportunities for future jobs in Finland. And yeah, that's it. And then, of course, if you decide to stay in Finland after graduation and work for a couple of years, you'll also be able to apply for a permanent visa or permanent residence permit. What time do we have now? Yeah, I think I'll better wrap up this part fairly fast because we don't want to miss the Q&A session as well. But I still before I go into the Q&A, I wanted to briefly discuss two different universities that we work with. So one is Satakunta University of Applied Sciences, and Satakunta University of Applied Sciences, or SAMK, they are located in Pori, which I discussed earlier when I showed you the medium-sized location or city in Finland where you can study. And I wanted to highlight Samk specifically because they are really international and really have an ambitious international student growth plan. They have also been awarded having the highest quality education at University of Applied Sciences in Finland. This is a national survey that is done with graduates, so actual students who have studied here, and they have many years in a row been ranked number one. They also have one of the highest graduate employment rates outside the metropolitan area. So outside of Helsinki, they have one of the best employment rates for their graduates, which of course means that this university really teaches skills that employers are looking for. They're also located in an area in Finland where there's a lot of industry and a lot of businesses, which means that they also have a lot of contacts to different employers and companies, which means that students have it easier to find internships and do practical trials and stuff with different projects with companies in the area. They also have a very modern campus. The new campus was built, I think, 5 to 10 years ago. So it's still very, very new and looks really nice. So these students can enjoy the latest technology, which is, of course, very important if you study topics like robotics or AI. They offer quite many different programs in English for being a university in Finland. So they have artificial intelligence, mechatronics, business, tourism, but even, for example, nursing and sea captain. So there's something for everyone, basically, no matter what you're interested in, if it's more business or more engineering or healthcare. So worth to check these out as well. I'm not going to go too much into these different degrees that we have or this university offers, but the ones that I would like to highlight, and if you're interested to find more about, is of course this artificial intelligence program. It's one of a kind in Finland. This is one of the few universities that offer artificial intelligence on bachelor level in English in Finland. And as I said, this field is only growing and has only started to grow. So the job opportunities in this field are endless. The same goes for mechatronics. I already mentioned industrial internet, automation, and as I said, we have a lot of companies working in the industry in Finland, and therefore they are constantly looking for engineers who understand robotics, mechatronics, how to automate things, and so forth. And the tuition fees are fairly affordable still. So for the programs in business, tourism, and nursing, for example, the fee is 9,500 euros per year. And for the programs in artificial intelligence and mechatronics, the tuition fee is a little bit higher, so 10,500. However, this university also offer scholarships for international students. So there are still, of course, opportunities to get a scholarship, and then, of course, your fee will be lowered. And they're quite generous still. For example, you can get a scholarship up to 50% of the fee if you progress well in your studies. The application period is still open for this university. So you still have a chance to start your studies in September if you apply now. But as you see, the deadline is coming up really soon. So I recommend you to submit your application as soon as possible if you're interested. The other university that I wanted to briefly discuss today or showcase is Metropolia University of Applied Sciences. This is an applied science university that is located in our capital. So it's the largest applied science universities in Finland. It has roughly 16,400 students. So it's really one of the biggest ones we have. And they have, all their campuses are located in the capital region, which is of course a nice, it's a nice destination if you're interested in living in one of the bigger or the biggest city in Finland and enjoy those benefits that a big city can bring you. Metropolia is also very international, and they have a lot of international projects, double degrees, exchange programs, but also full degree students. And these are a few years old, these numbers here, so they have definitely increased already since this. But as you can see, it is an international university, and therefore also, of course, a popular option for other international students. So why you should study at Metropolia? Well, as I said already, it's the largest applied science university in Finland, and that of course brings a lot of benefits in itself. They have they have a vast partner network, both in terms of universities abroad, but also company partners and so forth. They have one of the most extensive offering in terms of technology studies in Finland. And they also offer programs in healthcare and social services. Metropolia is also one of the universities of applied sciences in Finland that has the longest history of teaching in English. And they have been doing this for many, many years already. So they're quite good at what they're doing as well. These are the programs that they're currently running in English. So on bachelor's level, we have 4 different programs. Electronics, information technology, business and logistics, and then European business administration. So again, for students who are interested in technology as well as business, this could be an interesting option for those. They also have master degree programs, both in engineering as well as in business administration, as well as in healthcare. And some of these programs are, of course, done online. They can be conducted completely online or partially online if you want to just come to Finland and visit. And some of these programs are, of course, also 100% done on campus. So again, depending on your life situation and your own wishes, you can either do online or on-campus master degrees. And as I said, all the universities in Finland offer scholarships for international students, and so does Metropolia. They have their scholarships based on their Finnish language skills. So they encourage the students to learn the local language while they're studying at Metropolia. And this is, of course, especially important for students who are thinking on staying in Finland afterwards. Even if you survive with English in Finland, of course, in terms of employment and otherwise integration into society, it is, of course, better if you speak a little bit of the local language at least. As I said, they have 4 different campuses for the different programs: healthcare, business, and IT. And they are fairly new ones. They have actually 2 of them have been built in the last couple of years, and this Myllypuro, this campus for well-being, where, for example, a student who are studying nursing is studying, it was finalized like in 2019. So it's very, very new. But yeah, it's a very modern and cool university right in the center of Helsinki. And yeah, that was kind of what I had to say about this university. If you want to find out more about this university, you can, of course, contact Gary. He will have more information about this. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have of these universities or life in Finland in general. I think we can start for the questions if you have any.